Secretary from Laila Salaveria of Inquirer, when the president told China that he's not so much interested in fishing because there's not much fish to quarrel about, and that he'll only take action when it starts drilling for oil. What does this mean for China's poaching in our EEZ?
Alam niyo, the poaching, napakalaki kasi nitong West Philippine Sea. And not the entirety of West Philippine Sea is actually fertile, although karagatan yan, so meron talagang isda. Pero bago pa madiskubre o nagkaroon na expectation na may langis dyan, at simula naman talaga tayo nakakuha ng langis dyan sa Palawan, na malapit dyan sa disputed West Philippine Sea na yan, ay hindi naman talaga kilala itong body of water nito for fishing dahil ang description yan sa mga mapa, dangerous grounds kasi mabato yan. No? At talagang ang gamit dyan talaga ay bilang sea lanes, pero it's not really renowned for fishing. Kaya yun yung konteksto na sinasabi ng presidente. Although, dahil sa laki nga po niya, no, may mga areas talaga na renowned for fishing, gaya ng Scarborough Shoal. Pero ang Scarborough Shoal po, hiwalay talaga yan dun sa Kalayaan Group of Islands na pinag-aawayan. No? So we cannot make a conclusion na yung buong area talaga is rich in fisheries. Pero ang sinabi nga ng presidente, he may tolerate, dahil ano naman ang magagawa natin ngayon, no? We may tolerate na may ibang nangingisda habang hindi naman pinipigilan ng mangisda ang mga Pilipino mismo. Pero pagdating nga sa mga scarce resources gaya ng langis at natural gas, paninindigan ng presidente ito.
Ang second question po niya, what happens to Filipino fishermen who are harassed by China or affected by its activities? What kind of assistance can they expect from the government given these statements from the President?
Alam niyo po, minsan ako'y naging abogado ng mga mangingisda dyan sa Scarborough. Pinagbawalan sila nung panahon ni Presidente Aquino, pero sila po ay malayang nakapangingisda muli ngayon. No? At bagamat merong mga barko doon ng China, hindi naman sila pinipigilan ngayon. At yan naman po ay reports din, no, na reiterate kahapon din ni Secretary Lorenzana na nakapangingisda na naman po yung ating mga mangingisda na nais na mangisda dyan sa West Philippine Sea. So wala pa naman pong report ngayon na pinagbabawalan ng ating mga kababayan na mangisda.
Okay, ang susunod po magtatanong si Joseph Morong ng GMA 7.
Yes, Joseph, please. Go ahead, Joseph.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ambassador Soreta. Sir, my question is for you. Last night, sir, si Secretary Lorenzana said during the meeting that there's no hindrance for the President, or for anyone, any official to go to the WPS. Is the President interested in going to Kalayaan or Spratlys?
Well, if there's a reason to do it, no? The President was emphasizing na kung kinakailangan ako pupunta ako. No? At ang sabi naman, wala naman pong hindrance. No?
And he said yesterday, sir, that it doesn't achieve anything. No, when you go there and then it doesn't establish anything. Is that correct? From the statement of the President last night?
Well, I think it's an expression of fact. No? Kasi alam nyo, in international law, may tinatawag tayong critical date. Na critical date is when issues are joined and any tribunal ruling on an issue, i-ignore lahat ng ginawa ng mga partido after that critical date kasi everything will be self-serving. Kung ang pinag-uusapan ay disputed land territory, then yung test is the superior claim to effective occupation. No? So binabaliwala lahat ng ginagawa after the critical date kasi nga lahat yan self-serving.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, sir, do you think if ever he goes there, may point or wala naman?
Well, I don't think it will damage. I don't think it will add because if this were to be brought to judicial settlement, no, i-apply din yung critical date concept na anything after the issues are joined, the tribunal will ignore and base its evidence on superior claim prior to the critical date.
Sir, di po kasi Presidente sabi ng 2016 he will jet ski to stake our claim in this Spratlys. So what happens to that campaign promise, sir?
Well, that was a metaphor, but I think he has reiterated that when he said that there are limits to our friendship. Hindi ako papayag na mawala, na mangyari yung nangyari sa Administrasyong Aquino na nawalan ng isang isla habang sila po ay naninilbihan sa gobyerno.
Sir, I can go back to some of the statements of the President last night as far as putting his foot down. No? Sabi niya, yung oil drilling, that's the time that he will put his foot down. He said, sir, and I'm quoting, pag nag-umpisa na silang mag-drill ng oil dyan, sasabihin ko talaga sa China, is that part of our agreement? Because if it's not part of our agreement, I'm also going to excavate, to drill my oil there. If I own it, if you say you own it, I own it. Sir, you mentioned of an agreement. What is this agreement, sir? What did the President agree to? And ano yung mga go-no negotiations niya there?
Wala, alam mga pinag-uusapan ngayon yung Code of Conduct. Alam ko pinag-uusapan din yung joint exploration. No? Pero wala pa pong napipirmahan, kapagamat meron lang framework na napagkasunduan na on how to proceed discussing the joint exploration. So yun po yung posibleng mga kasunduan na inaasahan natin magbubunga dahil nga dito sa malapit na relasyon natin sa China.
Mm-hmm. Sir, yun pong sa 2016 arbitral ruling, no, sabi ng tribunal, as far as the 9-dash line claim of China is concerned, the tribunal, quote, concluded that there was no legal basis for China to claim historic rights to resources within the sea areas falling within the 9-dash line, and na-extinguish yun because incompatible siya with the EEZ of other countries such as ours. But sir, the President said yesterday that the question remains forever. Sir, ano yung po bang statement ng Presidente? What does it do to the ruling of the tribunal? Does it invalidate that finding of the tribunal?
Wala po. It's a statement of fact that according to the tribunal, bereft of legal basis yung claim to historic waters, and therefore, insofar as the tribunal held that some of the waters fall within our EEZ, then these waters fall within the sovereign rights of the Philippines. No? Pero ang problema nga po pagdating sa enforcement, kasi pati yung mga ilang artificial islands are found in waters that are found within our EEZ. And only the coastal state, the Philippines, has the power to build these artificial islands, in fact. No? Pero yan po yung dilemma natin. No? Wala kasi international police. Ang international police sana under Chapter 7 of Collective Security Measures ng United Nations. Pero may veto vote po ang China doon, and I don't think a Chapter 7 resolution will ever emanate from the Security Council.
Sir, in terms of enforcement, si Justice Carpio issued a statement, and he mentioned the two incidents, no, in 1987 and 2019, when the UN General Assembly approved a resolution in 1987 against the US to comply with the International Court ruling favoring Nicaragua. In 2019, UN General Assembly to the UK to return to the Chagos Archipelago. The Justice Carpio said, and I quote, "Getting a UN resolution in your country's favor is already a huge victory because that means the world community is behind your country. That strengthens enormously your country's position and weakens greatly your adversary's position. A country cannot just fold up and give up just because the other side is stubborn. That is the childish mentality." Comment first, and then does that answer your concern about enforcing the PCA ruling?
Well, that's a personal opinion of Justice Carpio, which I think is erroneous. Because as you know, only Security Council resolutions are binding on all member states. And of course, GA resolutions are non-binding. They're not even recognized as sources of international law, except insofar as they may evidence customary law. So talagang, it's a political document, but that's all that there is to it.
Mm-hmm. Sir, last na lang, may mga doctors yata, sir, hindi pa nakakatanggap ng kanilang mga salary. I read one na ang sabi sa kanya, May pa ang kanyang sunod na sweldo. Bakit sir nangyayari sa mga doctors natin to?
Pagbigay alam niyo na lang po sa akin kasi we will follow up with the DOH at hindi dapat nangyayari ito.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your time, sir, and I hope for your full recovery, sir.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Maraming salamat. Next question, Yusek Roque.
From Chris Jose of Remate, sa issue po ng withdrawal of support sa Pangulo, although pinabulaanan naman daw po ni Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, pero nakikita niyo ba ang pangangailangan na magsagawa ng loyalty check sa hanay ng sundalo?
Absolutely, wala pong necessity. Sabi ni Presidente, kung ayaw sa kanya ng military, uwi siya ng Davao.
Opo. Ang second question po niya, reaction po sa sinabi ni WHO Representative to the Philippines, Dr. Rabi Abenyasing, na kulang pa rin ang hakbang ng pamahalaan para protektahan ang frontline healthcare workers ng bansa. Kailangan daw na tiyakin ang kaligtasan ng kalusugan ng healthcare workers laban sa COVID-19.
I think this has to do with the fact na 63% pa lang ang health workers ang nababakunahan. I think as a general conclusion, lahat po ng medical frontliners na gustong magpabakuna, mabibigyan po ng bakuna. Pero marami po talaga sa kanila ang nag-aantay ng kanilang favored product. At hindi naman natin po sila mapipilit. Pero sa amin po, walang tigil ang ating pagmumungkahi sa mga health professionals that the best vaccine is the vaccine that is available.
From Rosa Nicos of UNTV, ano po ang gagawin hakbang ng palasyo kung gagamitin ng iba ang ganitong inisyatibo para mamulitika kaugnay ng issue ng community pantries?
Wala po, dahil bahala na po ang taong bayan na maghusga laban doon sa mga EEPAL dito sa community pantries nito.
Secretary, susunod na magtatanong si Melo Acuña ng Asia Pacific Daily.
Go ahead, Melo.
Hi, good afternoon, Secretary. Magandang hapon po. Ang tanong ko ay para muna sa inyo. Nabanggit din lamang po yung tungkol sa South China Sea, West Philippine Sea. Merong framework na pagkasunduan ng Pilipinas at China. Magkakaroon pa po ba ng katotohanan at magaganap pa ba yung joint exploration ng Pilipinas at ng China?
Ang kinakailangan na lang po ngayon siguro ay yung kasunduan sa panig ng bansang China at ng Pilipinas. Dahil ang pagkakaintindi ko, yung mga pribado, mga kumpanya, tapos na sila ng kasunduan. Pero siyempre, hindi naman po pwedeng pumasok sa kasunduan ng mga kumpanya lamang nang walang tratado sa panig ng kanilang mga bansa.
Hindi po kaya magiging masalimuot ito kung anong bansa ang pagbabayaran ng buwis sapagkat may kinalaman ito sa sovereignty doon sa pook na pagdarausan ng paghahanap ng crudo o ng petrolyo?
Hindi naman po siguro dahil hindi lang naman Pilipinas at China magkakaroon ng joint exploration agreement kumbaga. Worldwide, ang nature po talaga ng langis, it's a straddling resource, no? Kasi kung nasa ilalim po yun ng land boundary, it is shared by adjacent states, no? Ganyan din po ang anyo ng langis sa continental shelf tinatawag natin. So napakadami na pong pumasok dito sa joint exploration agreements, joint development agreements, at marami na pong models na pwedeng pagbasihan kung paano paghahatian ng tanging yaman na ito.
Do we have the luxury of time to have it into fruition because we are in the last months of the Duterte administration?
I think the President would want this joint exploration and joint development as part of his legacy.
Yeah. My question for Ambassador Sureta, if you please, Secretary.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Mr. Ambassador, good afternoon from Manila. Former Ambassador to Manila, Ambassador Kovaev, said they plan na magkaroon ng pabrika o gawaan ng bakuna sa Pilipinas. Ano na po kayo nangyari doon sa balak na iyon? Itutuloy pa po ba ng Gamaleya yung kanilang pagtatayo ng pabrika o laboratorio sa Pilipinas, Mr. Ambassador?
Thank you very much, Sir Melo. Yes, the discussions with private entities in the Philippines continues on this. This will have to be in partnership with the private sector. The Gamaleya knows that we have great technicians and medical experts when it comes to pharmaceuticals and production. They're known around the world as many of our frontliners are at the front lines of developing vaccines. They know this, and they already have production agreements with many countries. So there are models for this. But this issue, if I may, Secretary Harry, if I may touch, the President's policy of broadening the frontiers of our foreign policy is bearing fruit. We did not have excellent relations with Russia in the past, so we were not able to develop technical, scientific, and medical cooperation. And this, in a way, contributed to the delays. If we had deeper relations in the past with Russia, we would have experts exchanging views over the years, scientists working together, and of course, language training. And this would have led to earlier approval, I think. So it's very important that countries where we have no differences, who may have differences with our allies, we don't get in between that, and we develop and broaden the frontiers of our foreign policy as the president has done. And I hope it continues because the fight between Russia and the US is not our fight, for example. Particularly in our region, they are not rivals that affect us in a way. So if we had, I think, deeper relations with Russia and exchanges of people to people, science to science, technical, I think there's much more to reap, particularly in the future, in terms of health cooperation and science, technology, communication, and energy. Thank you.
Mr. Ambassador, is there a specific timeline for us to meet our goals?
Yes, by the end of the year, we're hoping at 20 million doses of the vaccine. Maybe earlier than the end of the year. They have dedicated production. I've seen it where they've dedicated they've done what we've asked, and we're hoping that barring any any circumstances, negative circumstances, we will get our 20 million. Madami ko dito nagtatanong sa akin ng mga OFWs kung kailan makakakuha yung kamag-anak nila ng kanilang vaccine, and I tell them it will be coming. The Filipinos here have also availed of the Sputnik vaccine.
I see. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you, Secretary Harry. All the best.
Very much, Melo. Thank you, Ambassador. Next question, Yusek Roque.
Yes, Secretary, from Jenaline Cabiling of Manila Bulletin, what's the next government action if China refuses to pull out its vessel from Julian Felipe Reef and other parts of the West Philippine Sea and lay claim to these areas?
Kampante po tayo na dahil nasa malapit na pagkakaibigan, aalis at aalis din naman sila dyan. Pagdating ng Maya, nandyan pa sila.
Ang second question po niya, will the government set up its own version of community pantry across the country after some pantries were reportedly closed due to red tagging concerns?
Well, malinaw po no, na lininaw na rin ng DILG na wala pong basbas yung mga red tagging na yan. No? At wini-welcome po natin mga community pantries na yan. Well, kanina po, inanunsyo ko lang na nagkaroon ng extension yung pamamahagi ng financial assistance until 15 May. No? So yan naman po yung toka ng gobyerno, pagbibigay ng financial assistance, 23 billion po sa ngayon ang binibigay nating financial assistance.
Okay, Secretary, ang susunod pong magtatanong ay si Pia Rañada ng Rappler.
Go ahead, Pia.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, seeing that the NTF-LCAC is a task force created by the President, will the palace hold accountable anyone in the NTF-LCAC responsible for sharing those red tagging posts about community pantry organizers?
I think the President has spoken through my office, the DILG has spoken, and unless their concern is about health protocols not being observed, they should let these community pantries alone.
So, sir, you're saying that the NTF-LCAC is wrong in red tagging these organizers of community pantries?
Let's just say the President welcomes all initiatives na makakatulong sa ating kababayan habang tayo nasa pandemya.
Sir, from Ace Romero, he just wanted this to be asked. Will the palace ask the anti-insurgency task force to stop linking community pantries with communism since there are concerns about the safety of organizers?
Decision na po nila yan. Basta nagsalita na po ang ating DILG Secretary at nagsalita na rin po ako bilang tagapagsalita ng Pangulo na dapat walang maghahadlang doon sa mga efforts na nagbabayanihan ng ating mga kababayan.
Mm-hmm. And sir, what will happen to NTF-LCAC officials who continue to make posts or make claims about community pantry organizers?
You know naman, that's part of the free marketplace of ideas. Sa tingin ko, kahit anong sabihin nila, basta nakikinabang ang taong bayan dyan, maniniwala pa rin ang mga kababayan natin sa community pantries.
Pero sir, so the danger here is yung red tagging po, parang people fear that the posts by a government task force might attract danger, or people who believe in these posts na parang recruitment efforts yung community pantries, baka ma-endanger po yung buhay ng mga organizers ng mga pantries na to. So will the palace do anything to stop this kind of danger from bearing fruit?
Nagsalita na po tayo birang bibig ng Presidente, nagsalita na po ang kalihim ng DILG. Welcome po natin yung mga community pantries. Let's leave it at that.
Okay, and then sir, lastly, because the FDA Director General Eric Domingo said that it was the President himself who ordered the ivermectin trials to begin. So sir, may we know the reason of the President for ordering this?
Natural, nais malaman ni Presidente kung talaga may basihan na epektibong gamot ang ivermectin para sa COVID. No? Kasi kung siya ay epektibo at mura, bakit naman natin hindi magagamit? Pero kinakailangan, mapatunayan po ng ligtas at epektibo itong ivermectin.
Nagka-debate po ba among the task force officials and the President because the DOST said a week ago that there was no need for the Philippines itself to conduct these trials in the Philippines kasi marami na pong trials abroad. Was there a discussion on this?
Wala po. DOST is conducting yung kanilang clinical trials dito like any other drug. No? Kasi itong ivermectin naman, it is used as a veterinary medicine and it's not used for COVID-19. So gusto lang natin masigurado na ligtas at epektibo siya laban sa COVID-19.
Alright, thank you sir.
Maraming salamat. Yusef Roque.
Yes, Secretary from Sam Medinilla of Business Mirror, may nabanggit si President Duterte's meeting with cabinet members yesterday if he will have a dialogue with members of the Senate to discuss EO 128 and the proposed MAP adjustment for pork.
I think ang nangyari kahapon po, in-explain ni Presidente kung bakit sinang-ayunan niya yung rekomendasyon ng DA at ng kanyang economic team for the 400,000 metric ton na MAF importation at lower tariff. But of course, that is subject to revocation if Congress wants, no? Dahil sa saligang batas, talagang exercise of delegated authority lang po ang ginagawa ng Presidente pagdating sa tariff fixing, and it can only be exercised when Congress is not in session. So pagbalik ng Kongreso, kapag sila ay nag-convene na muli at nais silang i-override yan, yan po ay jurisdiction naman po ng Kongreso.
Second question po niya, will President Duterte now certify as urgent Bayanihan 3 after the hearing of the economic impact of the ECQ and MECQ in NCR Plus?
Hindi pa po dahil ang paninindigan po ng ating economic team, gagamitin po muna natin ang 2021 budget.
Okay, thank you, Secretary Roque. Yun lang po yung mga question natin.
Okay, dahil wala po na po tayong mga katanungan, salamat po sa ating mga naging panauhin, si Philippine Ambassador to the United States, James Romualdez, Philippine Ambassador to Russia, Carlos Soreta. Maraming salamat sa ating mga kasama sa Malacanang Press Court. Maraming salamat, Yusef Roque. Sa ngalan po ng inyong Presidente, ito po yung Spokesman Roque, nagsasabi Pilipinas, napakadami na po nating pagsubok na nadaanan. In the end, pinapatunayan po that the Filipino will always prevail. Mabuhay po kayo, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.